Yeah. So I really want us to think about what our ideas of enlightenment are, what that looks like. Most of us do think of the spiritual teachers, of gurus, of a person sitting in a cave in India or on the top of a mountain somewhere. We have very few accounts of how people became enlightened. That's why I wrote my book, Autobiography of a Yogini. I mean, one of the things, I was raised Catholic, and one of the things that I really get upset about Christianity is that they have accepted, we don't know what happened between, was it 12 and 30, was it, of his life? It's just not acceptable to me. One of the greatest beings to be on planet Earth, and we don't know. It's not okay. I would be demanding it of the leaders, or I would be demanding it of him. I need to know. And many of us have some accounts of what occurred, but on the larger scale, it's not known, and it's accepted as not known. And that's really not okay. Something was happening from 12 to 30. And for many of us, we understand that he was becoming the Christ, becoming that. So we don't know how he became that. And we have very few accounts of how saints or mystics became their higher selves. So that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I like to talk to people, because you, in this lifetime, can shift from your normal, regular self to the fullness of who you are. I like to say it's like taking off that Clark Kent jacket and being the super person that you are in reality. And each of us has had some glimpse of what that is. Yes, you have a feeling inside. You meditate. You go into a deep space. Sometimes I work with people and they say, well, I had it once and now it's gone. And they spend their whole life very upset that they don't have that thing, whatever that was. And I just try to say, it never can leave you, because it is the core of who you are. It is what we all are. Now, we come on this planet and we live these lives that dumb us down. That's one way of saying it, right? It makes us small. Our educational systems, our parents' ignorance, that, they don't know that they're more, so how can they tell you to be more, expect you to be more? I hear examples. There's a woman who in her 80s created these beautiful orosoma, I think it's called. They do wonderful things. But when she was a young girl of 3, she was British, and her father, they lived in a home with a beautiful garden and forest behind. And at 3 years old, her father would send her out to the backyard into the forest and say, find the plant that heals a stomachache. And at 3, she would go out, and then she'd come back and find the right plant. And then he'd say, now go out and find the one that heals a headache. And she would go out and come back with that right plant. Now, how many of you think you have that ability to do that, right? But this was just a regular kid. But her father knew that she could do that. How many of us have hunches about, oh, I should call so-and-so, right? Don't we all? Don't we all have that feeling, I've got to call them, right? And how many times do we follow through on that? Most of the time, not. This is your own divine voice wanting you to make a connection of importance. But we have other important things to do, right? We have these lives to live and things to take care of and paying the bills and doing all those things. So we do not pay attention to that still small voice. All the words that are said in the Bible, I love it. When I started my teachings, and everything that I teach is straight through me. I stopped reading 15 years ago. I only read now if there's something that Spirit can't tell me directly, and it's like some big gap in my karmic life that I have no knowledge of. But most things just come right through. And I read quite a bit for 20-some years prior to that. But what we're reading is not the true knowingness of something. And when we begin to pay attention to that voice within, that's what I was saying. When I started teaching, I was amazed at how many things sounded like things I had heard somewhere, but coming through in my voice. Because truth is truth. It's truth. And so it doesn't matter, but it's going to relate in a specific way coming through me than it does coming through some other teacher. But it's the truth. And so this idea of the still small voice, I say it can be something coming across your computer screen. It can be someone that you don't like. It can come from so many directions. But this guidance, this divinity that we are, is there for us all the time. But since we don't listen to it, it just quiets down. Why? If you had someone that was talking to you and you were talking to John and you were talking to John and John was paying no attention to you, you just stop, right? He doesn't want to hear what I have to say. But what we can begin to do is to really listen, to ask. And I talk about enlightenment not for that mountaintop living. Although if that's your calling, then that's what you will do. But enlightenment is for our day-to-day use. This great consciousness that we are is here to help us with every little problem that we have. And even beyond problem, that's what we normally do, is turn to God, Spirit, divinity, whatever word you want to use, when there's something wrong, something major, right? I know I hate to say this to the guys, but a lot of times people say, some men, they've never been in church until that chapel when someone that they love is really ill, and then they go to the chapel, yes? But it doesn't have to be for that. And it doesn't have to be when we might lose our mortgage, right? It doesn't have to be for the major things. It's for everything, every moment. This divine essence that we are wants to guide us in the right directions for every moment of our lives.